Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel and welcome back to another Planet Coaster 2 video. Today we are working on Merlin's Revenge, which is a recreation of my old Roller Coaster Tycoon 3 ride from back in the day. And today, this is the last episode, so we're finishing out the rest of the scenery, all the supports on the ride. So, let's get to it. Now, starting out in the time lapse, the first thing I think we need to do to finish this ride is all of the custom supporting. And originally I was planning to keep some of the generated supports that the game already does, like I was going to use the generated ones, but decided to go with custom supporting because the ones that the game generated just really aren't exactly realistic enough for me, and I'm kind of a stickler when it comes to coaster supports in these types of games, so I really kind of leaned into doing them custom. And making custom supports is actually it's very tedious, takes quite a lot of time, but it's pretty easy if you know where to look, so for me, like, I wasn't exactly sure how B&M was doing their supports for this kind of ride, so again, we are referring to our handy dandy reference, which is Incredible Hulk, which is, what this ride is very much based on. If you haven't actually seen the rest of this series, I would suggest going back. I talk more about how this is all based on the Incredible Hulk. If you can't tell, you have like the launch tube, and then you have a loop, and then Cobra roll and all that stuff. Same layout, almost as the Hulk coaster, but so yeah, for the supports, I honestly just opened up Google and looked up Incredible Hulk, and I kind of studied a little bit how the supports are occurring on the loop and the Cobra roll, and even the barrel roll after the launch tube. So so that's pretty much me. I'm just kind of copying that, and you can see how at the start of the loop, there's a little bit of there's a couple supports that go into the ground, and then you have this sort of brace that is sort of integrated with the steel of the track. So that's what we're doing here. But yeah, the supports are definitely were one of the more time-consuming parts, but we made it through, and I actually had a lot of fun doing this because supports mean a lot to me when it comes to these games, because I remember when we were playing Roller Coaster Tycoon 3 back in the day, and even if you look back at the ride I'm actually referencing this on, which is like had all of the custom supporting like I'm trying to do here. But yeah, back in the day, I remember looking at Roller Coaster Tycoon 3 and thinking, wow, the supports are very unrealistic. They don't look anything like they do in real life, and I'm very detailed, and I'm very like wanting to make things as realistic as possible in this game, as much as possible. So back in the day, I remember I was playing Roller Coaster Tycoon 3, and I was kind of turned off by the game because I wanted things to be a little bit more realistic. But I was watching like YouTube videos online. I was like, whoa, this creator made a ride with supports that I don't see in the game. And I was like, where did he get that? Or where did they get that, So did some Googling, and I found out you can download like custom scenery packs. So of course, the first thing I downloaded was, I think it's Shy Guys Steelworks, or I forget, but Steelworks was like that custom scenery pack changed my whole trajectory of playing Roller Coaster Tycoon 3. I got so hooked because I was like, finally, I have a tool here to make things as realistic as possible, make things look like they are in real life. And like, it was kind of my escape, if I could build any sort of ride or attraction and feel like I'm really there, that was cool to me. And Steelworks was kind of a tool to make the ride seem more realistic and make me feel like I'm actually at the park, so and actually Steelworks, that really got me into the game. That really made me invested and want to create more. And I think ever since I had that pack too, that's when I started making like Roller Coaster Tycoon 3 YouTube videos, and if you even look back at like I was saying earlier, like the Merlin's Revenge ride that I made when I was 14, that guy had a whole plethora of steelworks on it. So, and that was like one of my most proudest recreations. So we're recreating it here. But anyways, so let's get back to what we're actually building here. So yeah, like I said, we're just like making all these custom supports, and actually now we're kind of at the second half of the ride. So at the second half of the ride, I changed the layout a little bit compared to how the Hulk coaster is, but I know in this layout the Hulk coaster actually has a second loop after the sort of initial launch. So that's what I wanted to incorporate here. And this layout is similar to Hulk, but I think I added like a wave turn or something, made this area a little bit more compact. I think the story of this ride is more or less like B&M wanted to, I guess like if this was a real park and a real sort of business, I think I try to imagine like how B&M would approach this, so I think that the launch tube and the Cobra roll and the loop and that kind of stuff would be very similar to Hulk. I would imagine that they would like recycle it or whatnot and then turn it and then kind of cater to the park as much as they can and kind of reuse what they already know but make a new layout. So the second half is like kind of a new layout compared to the Hulk ride. So thing is though, like when these parks do custom style layouts, it becomes a little bit more expensive, but I figured this park probably would have the budget to do something like that, considering they built this massive castle. So I think it made sense within the overall story of the park. But yeah, so but then that also kind of came into how does B&M actually build their supports, and that's what I was trying to kind of emulate here. So I looked at the Hulk as well. I looked at the Hulk kind of for the first half, but then the second half I wasn't, more of kind of generic supporting of B&M. So I was looking at rides like Kumba and other sit-down rides. I know there is a clone of the Hulk coaster in, I think it's Japan, Universal Japan or something. So I even kind of looked at that to see like how it's a little bit more modern than the Hulk coaster in Islands of Adventure. So I even looked at that. I think it's Transformers theme or something. I looked at that too and tried to kind of see how they're more of a modern approach they would take to building supports and like what kind of changes they made. Just kind of making it as detailed as possible and realistic as possible. But I also, don't want to go down into a hole where I'm making everything more realistic than it needs to be, and I'm stuck here for days and days. So that's the thing. There's a limit to the realism in these games, like one of the issues with Planet Coaster is you have such a capability to make things realistic, and if you have the capability, I feel like I would need to utilize that as much as possible. But then you get into this trap where you're just spending so much time making everything realistic, making every single support perfect. Like for example, I could spend way more time aligning these like supports connecting to the track here, and making sure it's all sized correctly, and spend hours and hours trying to do that. But am I ever going to get the ride done? No, I'm not. So my approach to building recently has been to not kind of look at more of a macro level, like how is it going to look overall, like add enough detail to make it realistic and cool and feel like you're there, but it doesn't need to be one-to-one recreation, everything perfect, everything as real as it is. There are creators out there that do that, and I'm like really impressed by their attention to detail, but it's like I kind of want to do more. That's not like my main sort of focus, I want to make this a overall amazing kind of, like I said, macro level creation. So to me, missing a catwalk or missing a support here and there is not the end of the world. But I do love creators that make things realistic as possible, because it's like, it's incredible. It's just like, I can't believe you spent all this time, or I can't believe you spent like you have an eye for all of this detail, and like if there's any creator that wants you to make you feel like you're really there, it's those types of creators, and it's incredible. And they also kind of show you techniques and sometimes remind me of details that I would normally not really add. I'm like, oh, adding a detail like that would be kind of beneficial. For example, like earlier I was building a catwalk, or like a stairs to the catwalk, and I'm like, that never really, I would always kind of forget about that. And so now, like, I saw someone do that before, and I was like, oh, that's perfect. So anyways, enough about supports and old time custom scenery packs from Roller Coaster Tycoon 3. Let's talk a little bit more about what we're doing here. So now that we're basically done with all the supports and all of that good stuff, and it's time to move on to actually adding the scenery theme around the ride. And I wanted to make this area, I didn't want to make it its own like theme park, this whole project. I wanted to make it its own ride, but I also wanted to make the area seem like it was part of a bigger theme park, and it's sort of a closed off its own thing, but also could be part of a bigger theme park. So with that, I wanted to keep sort of a medieval theme. That obviously that's kind of what we're going for with the castle and all of the theming and just the architecture of the castle. So I wanted to keep a medieval theme, but I also wanted to break it up. I wanted there to be areas a little bit more rustic, but also a little bit more posh and clean like the castle is. So this area that I'm building is going to be a kind of Viking themed area, very loosely Viking themed. There's no like A-list attraction, or what are they called? E-ticket attractions? There's no e-ticket attractions in this area. Very much just kind of a sort of themed area to add ambiance to the guests in the park. I would think that in a really big theme park with a full lands, everything figured out, I'd imagine this area probably would have a e-ticket attraction, like some kind of boat ride or log ride. But for us, it's just going to be a couple buildings. I actually add a flat ride later on just to kind of close out some of the areas that I wasn't really sure about. But yeah, it's just going to be kind of a loosely themed Viking area for people to walk around. And I'm going to add a couple ships in the lagoon out by the sea, like the little water by the Cobra Roll, like a shade structure. And, that's about it. I'm not going to turn this into a whole theme park yet. As I was building this, I was kind of imagining, I was like, wow, like maybe this could be a whole theme park, because the way I was like laying out the paths and kind of falling into a hole of almost turning it into a whole theme park, but keeping it kind of closed and utilitarian, or not utilitarian, but like keep it closed and together and have it be its own unit, but part of a larger park. I was thinking more in the future. I was like, well, if it was a park, this area would look like this and this area would look like that and have this ride. So kind of had an idea that I might do like a theme park, or use this park file to recreate a lot of my old rides and just have them all in one place, but have them be integrated into a larger theme park, So obviously we built Merlin's Revenge here, but I was thinking we can do, I was looking back at some of my old videos, and I have a whole list of rides I made in Roller Coaster Tycoon 3 that I think would be really great to add to like a larger theme park. So we might do that. I might do that here, depending on how I feel about it. But I think I might do that. There's like a log ride that I really liked. I made a long time ago. I think there's I think I made like a old wooden mice coaster that's really cool that I think would fit really well. And you never know, like if I turn this into a whole theme park, I might add a Viking like e-ticket attraction to that Viking area, or add like a village or something. You can kind of see how like the end product that I have kind of is sort of there's a lot of room for expansion, and I think that's what I want to do. So But we will get to that when we get to that. We don't want to get ahead of ourselves. I think we should, now let's just finish what we're doing here. Get back to what we're doing here, which is building the, kind of building out the moat entrance to the castle. So we built a little bit of a bridge and a moat with some rocks, and wanted to make it kind of jagged, like it's sort of on like maybe some sort of hill. So added some jagged rocks here. And on this bridge, this is going to be like the main entrance where people will cross to go on the ride. So that is also like, I wanted to make that look pretty cool. And the whole kind of story of how this whole entrance area to the castle is, like, I really wanted to make it as open as possible. In the Magic Kingdom, in Disney World, the kind of like the area, or like the park, what's it called? Like right after Main Street, when you walk up to the castle, that whole promenade area where people would watch fireworks, and there's a couple of churro carts here and there, popcorn carts, little like snacks here and there. That whole area is very open, and it's intentionally open because the Imagineers, I think, wanted the castle to be kind of the focal point of the of that area, so I think I also kind of want to do that here too. I wanted to keep the kind of park promenade area in front of the castle very open, so that you can see the castle fully. It's not hidden by any trees or any foliage or anything like that. And you can see the launch tube and the cobra roll and the loop and the whole ride. I want it to be a panoramic view where you can see everything. So with that, I decided to make this area a little bit more, very much more open, and have a lot of planters, and same kind of layout as the Magic Kingdom's area, like circle area. It's like the area where you walk in and you have the branch out where you go to different lands. So I wanted to keep that same kind of feel, but it's not going to be, not going to be like branching off into different lands. I don't really want the castle, if I were to make this like a big park, I don't really want the castle to be like the focal point. I would probably change my mind on that, but like maybe it would be, maybe it wouldn't be. I don't know. But at the end of the day, I did want to keep it open. And I really struggled with that because I was like, oh, I should build a building here and build a building there. But I was like, no, I got to keep it open and flat. And, but you also got to like add detail and make things interesting. So, and one of the ways I did that is actually what I'm doing here, which is building some designs in the pavement. I wanted to build under the launch tube and actually make the launch tube like kind of integrated into the park and not sort of closed off. So the guests kind of get a little bit of an interaction when they can walk under this, walk under the launch tube. So decided to keep things interesting and actually make a little bit of a design in the pathway and utilize the new coloring tools we have with the pathways. So decided to do like a little bit of a star sunrise, half sunrise design under the supports. The theme I think was loosely kind of steampunkish, with a sense of like you're being shooted off into space, with like, I guess, Merlin shooting you off or whatever. So decided like maybe a sun here would work, adding some red kind of sunset theme, I guess, under the supports. I don't know, I really liked it. I think it helps with keeping the area interesting but not overly like colorful. Well, at least keeping it open and not having to build like a bunch of buildings that would block the view, but keeps things interesting with sort of the landscape architecture. And with that, we're now down to the wire here. We are working mainly on all of the scenery around the park, or around this area. So like I said, this area, as compared to like the Viking area, is going to be a little bit more posh and a little bit more formal. It's going to be more like themed to the castle. So I'm keeping up with the black and kind of very pearl white fences here, or like the pearl white stone. So That's going to be like kind of the main fencing around this area. I wanted to integrate with the castle here a little bit more. But yeah, so what else can I talk about? Yeah, I mean, as you can see, this is kind of another example of how I'm trying to keep things open. So a lot of these areas are going to just be filled with generic planters. I also thought about like adding churro carts or like popcorn carts like you have in the Magic Kingdom. Thing is, like, I first, when I was going to this area, I wanted to make it kind of a, actually, before I talk about that, let's talk about what I'm doing here. This is actually I think in this area, I kept it more of, I wanted to keep the theme loose, but it's sort of in a wooded area. So I built a little kind of bigger spooky tree here. And I actually kind of got inspiration from this like tree from, what is it, the Whomping Willow, I think, in Harry Potter? Yeah. I was like, oh, I think it would be cool, like next to the castle, if we had like a forested area with a really old tree that's Whomping Willow has that Whomping Willow aesthetic. Or what's the area called that they're like, the Dark Forest or something? Yeah, I don't know. I thought that was cool. So yeah, in this area, this kind of spaghetti bowl of stuff, I wanted to add like a little bit of a rustic theme, but very much not really like needing to be super detailed or anything. It's more just the second half of the ride, more like spaghetti bowl sort of fun. But yeah, so here, so now I'm actually building some backstage area, and this is where I utilize like just building a couple of like, these are like maintenance pathways. So this helped me actually close out the area a lot better than just doing trees, because it's like, oh, this is sort of a natural barrier where, the maintenance access needs to come through and get access to the back of the park. So I actually did that and built a little, what's it called? One of those mechanic sheds that you have to build now, I guess, like mechanic areas. I don't know. In Planet Coaster 1, you have to do that, but I guess here you have to have like a place for the mechanics to like sit and recover, or workshop, whatever it's called. So I made sure to do that. But yeah, adding the maintenance area was a good way to kind of have a berm between what was the theme park and what was like maintenance area or whatever. It was kind of, that's like, this is the end. I can kind of stop here and not have to build anymore. Yeah, so now we're back to, sorry about that. Now we're back to the promenade area. So yeah, if you look at the promenade or the entrance at the Magic Kingdom, you see like right in front of the castle, you see that area has a lot of like planters and short shrubs, and I think there might be a couple of trees here and there, but I guess they wanted to keep this area open because they wanted to show, the grandness of the castle, but they also wanted to have enough room for people to watch the fireworks, I think. So I just kind of wanted to make this a pleasant area and keep it open and exposed, and but I also wanted to make it similar to that. I wanted this to be an area where people could relax and I don't know, watch the coaster go around, and I don't know, it just seemed better to keep it open and more inviting and all that good stuff. So very much just like planters and I think I had an area too where they can sit down and like kind of in the grass. I think in the Magic Kingdom they have one of those too, so decided to make that planter a little bit later. But anyways, I'm getting ahead of myself. Right here, we're actually kind of, I thought about how like inside the castle there wasn't enough line, so I was like, maybe I should add a overflow standby line. So that's kind of what that is over there, is sort of in the standby line, like there's, I figured like if inside the castle got too full, that's sort of where the overflow would be, is outside the castle. So to me, it's kind of temporary. Like they could take that down and not use that area if they want. But to me, I was like, oh, this area isn't really being used, so I decided to use that as like a standby overflow. I actually added a priority lane as well, and I had to do some little fiddling inside the castle to make there be 2 lines. So when I release the downloaded park, you'll see how it's a little bit different than what I was constructing before in earlier episodes. But anyways, so here is where I'm adding kind of some parked areas. So like guests can walk inside this planter and have relax a little bit, sit down. It's going to be sitting. They're going to be like sitting on, I guess, dirt or like compacted dirt or something, and guests are going to be able to chill and sit on some grass, I guess. I know in the Magic Kingdom there were a couple of planters like this, so I was just kind of walking around on Google Earth, and I was like, oh, I think it would be good to put here and make it, a little bit cooler area to chill. I think I end up adding some trees here as well. So I think the Magic Kingdom has like little areas where you can park your stroller, sit on a chair. It's on like fake grass or something. So, I think it works because I can keep this area open, but fill it in with something that people will enjoy. So did add a couple of trees. I was like wanting to keep this area as least amount of trees as possible, but at the same time, I think the trees add a little bit of shade and foliage, so didn't make them very tall. But if you look from the pathway here in the promenade over to the the Cobra and the loop and stuff, it's not completely blocked off. So I think I achieved the keeping things open without making it too closed off here. But anyways, well, we're doing pretty good here. We're almost at the end. Kind of a longer episode. I'm sorry. Well, maybe not the end. I think we have a little bit more to go to still, but this now I'm kind of at a point where I'm done with the ride, and I'm just kind of trying to close off all these areas as much as possible. So decided to fill in the space with a small flat ride. So just grabbed this flat ride off of it's one of the pre-built ones. I decided to just do it really quickly, add some theme around it. I think I call it like Valhalla's Goblet or something. Like I said, this Viking area is not part of a larger themed idea or themed area of the park. It might be in the future, but it's more or less just to kind of fill it in. So, but decided to have some fun with it, so and get myself familiar with the Viking themed pieces because I haven't really utilized those very much yet, at least building custom things. So kind of seeing what sort of pieces are available is pretty helpful. So just kind of adding like a quick shade structure for the flat ride so that people can, not be sitting in the burning sun. I always try to do that. I always try to make sure my queues are not fully covered, because I know I've sat in some queues where it's been in direct sunlight and I've been miserable. So I always try and like think about my guests' sort of comfort, and just adding realistic things like that is helpful. We're just adding kind of a quick sign here for the teacups. Like I've been saying though, I have this idea that I might make this into a larger theme park. Like this Viking area, I'm thinking could really use like I've been saying before, could really use like some kind of water coaster maybe, but I don't know. I don't want to get too ahead of myself. Actually, the next idea I have is not over here. I might go on the other side of the park, but we'll see. And so this, I don't know, what else can I talk about here? It's like this whole area is very, it's not going to be, I didn't honestly spend a whole lot of time here. I kind of just wanted to wrap it up as quickly as possible, but I think at some point I probably will come back here and build something a little bit more intentional. Really working on this project made me get back into this game a lot more. I was like, I have so many ideas and so many different things that I want to do, and I think this park is actually a good template to do that. I don't want to get involved in too many projects, so I might use this as my baseline park for a while, but we'll see. Thing is, I have another park that I've been working on that I haven't had time to like release or anything, or I haven't really gotten to a point where I want to do that. So that might be my next project. You'll never know. But yeah, so I think the last thing I wanted to do was in this area, I was always thinking about adding a restaurant. So we're just going to add a quick little restaurant here. I used one of the Viking themed restaurants. They didn't have like a fantasy or like, what's it called? A fairy tale theme. They didn't have a restaurant theme to that or like any sort of building that would help me. So I used the Viking as a template, the Viking restaurant as a template. And then I just sort of changed out all of the walls and everything to be like medieval themes. So I'd imagine this is just like a small little restaurant where guests can come and get some, I don't know, get some chicken or medieval, like anything you would find at like medieval times, like just kind of a generic restaurant. Didn't want to think too much about it. I actually really like how it turned out. Having the big gabled roof was pretty cool. As like sort of the center where you order your food, and then you can come up the second floor up here and get some seating if you wanted, or you could also go downstairs and eat downstairs if you want. But this is another attempt for me to just close off this area and keep it as if this area is in an integrated park, So didn't really have too much inspiration off of this. My inspiration was just trying to fill it in. And use the Viking layout as a base and just change the walls and use my new knowledge of all of the fantasy style pieces to just put something together pretty quickly. This is not the focal point. The focal point is Merlin's Revenge, so. But yeah, I actually kind of enjoy doing these small little buildings and these small little scenery pieces, because this is what really brings it all together. And when you have this like blank coaster in front of your face, it's hard to imagine it being part of a whole park. And when you build all the scenery and all the buildings and restaurants and bathrooms and all the stuff around it, it really kind of brings it all together and really makes you immersed in this like fictional theme park you built. So I always try and make sure that I do that. Actually, I know another YouTuber on here, I think his name, Silverette, the other, big Planet Coaster builder, architect, master. He always did that. I would watch his videos, and he would always have, he would build like a single ride, but around it, he would make sure that there were shops and there was bathrooms and shops and other themed buildings that made it feel like part of a larger theme park, but also its own thing, So for me moving forward, that's kind of how I want to make sure all of my parks theme. So, but anyways, yeah, I mean, this little, it's just a small little nook where people can get some food. Pretty generic theme park restaurant, I guess. I actually used the restaurant base, so the mechanic they built in the game. It's nice that you have that now, because before it would just be you'd build a couple of, I don't know, like pizza ports or burger places, fries, and you just kind of build them in stalls in the wall, and then you pretended like they sat down and ate their food. But actually here they sit down and actually grab their food and eat it. So that's pretty cool. I always thought that was kind of a cool mechanic they added. But yeah, we're just going to it's called the King's Grotto, just a little eatery, I guess. But yeah, so I think this is like the last building I have here. So now now all that's left is to add some lighting. So this is one of my favorite parts of the building process, is adding the lighting at night. I think it's so cool. Unfortunately, this game doesn't have the floodlight. The floodlight I used constantly in the first game, but here it doesn't seem like they really have it. So I just had to utilize a lot of these, what are these called? Spotlights or whatever? Modern spotlight, yeah. So I just kind of utilized these and think one of the biggest tricks in Planco is to change the lighting on, like change the colors of the lights around whatever you're building, to keep it kind of interesting. So, for me, I kept it with these blues and pinks and purples and reds to kind of match the vibe of the castle. And doing things at night just always, or adding this light like this always just makes things a lot more magical here. So yeah, I mean, I think this project was a lot of fun. We're kind of nearing the end. I had a lot of fun with this project. Like I said, I think you're definitely going to see more of me recreating old rides, but I think it's going to be part of a larger story of a theme park in this park file. So, we'll see. We'll see. I hope to do that. But yeah, I mean, really just seeing the finished product here really made me happy and really made me want to get back into this game a little bit more. So you'll definitely see a lot more moving forward. Yeah, and so I mean, lighting over here, decided to keep it a little bit more, I guess, kind of darker greens. You're more in the forest, and on the other side was more like blues and purples. But yeah, I mean, so anyways, that's it. I'll see you guys next episode. Bye.